Like, stop calling it Apple Music. Like, yeah, it's not music.
Good morning, folks. How are you? It is an early morning. Not that early, but Los Angeles traffic early morning. Thanks for coming here, first of all. Today, we're talking about the internet, OTT, media, and the Hollywood connection. It's 9:15 or so, so we're gonna start this as folks trickle in. So we have a panel discussion. So I'm gonna talk about some trends in the market first. We'll go into the panel talks, and then we'll open it for questions at the end. Just want to be really interactive, so if you have any specific questions, we've got a fantastic group of folks here that you're going to meet here in a second. So if you're on Twitter, we've got the hashtags, hashtag OTT and Digital Hollywood, if you would. I'm Steve Wong, your moderator today. I'm from a company called DXC, which is a Hewlett Packard Enterprise spinoff and a merger with CSC. So now our group of panel members, if you folks will give us a brief intro of you and tell us who you are and what you do. We'll start off with Neil.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve. My name is Neil Ishibashi. I work at Fandango. I'm in charge of product experiences across all of our lines of businesses, and that includes everything from Fandango, Fandango Now, which is our streaming service, Rotten Tomatoes, and FanShop.
Cool. Thanks a lot. And Jeffrey, you're up.
Yes, hi, I'm Jeffrey Thompson. I'm with IBM Global Business Services. For those of you who know the technology world, that means I'm in the consulting space within IBM. I work in media and entertainment. Why am I useful to you? Because I work on the strategy, analytics, and AI side of the house, meaning artificial intelligence. And from a digital Hollywood point of view, that means that we're focused on predicting whether it be content outcomes, whether it be marketing optimization outcomes, whether it be incremental profitability in terms of distribution globally. We look at those kinds of use cases. I'm actually came out of Disney 11 years, launched Blu-ray disc, last physical, what I would say is physical packaged good in the media and entertainment industry. From there, went to Condé Nast Entertainment to launch Condé Nast Entertainment, a magazine company's first foray into entertainment for the sake of entertainment, Vogue TV and those kinds of things. And then have been at 2 startups since, and that's how I got into IBM. And now most of my clients are Sony, BBC, Disney, and other types of major studios.
Cool, thank you. And Evan.
Hey, Evan Greenberg. I'm the head of audience development at TAPP Media. We build niche subscription video on demand channels, so basically like a mini Netflix around a single person or organization. We have a few successful channels in the faith space, building for a couple of mega churches, bringing a digital video channel subscription to those congregations. We've done some stuff in politics and health as well, and have a couple proposals out to some A-list athletes and performers right now. So we may have some announcements soon. But yeah, I drive all of our customer growth, paid subscribers, and retaining those subscribers on those networks.
Cool. And Reza.
Hi, Reza Rassool. I'm CTO of RealNetworks, headquartered in Seattle. But as you can tell from my accent, I'm a Los Angeles native. Actually, the gig that brought me over from London to Los Angeles more than 2 decades ago, I was part of a team that invented a way of editing a movie on a computer. Who would have thought that would be a popular thing? And so that project won a technical Oscar, technical Emmy Award, and I guess I dined out on that experience for way too long. I was a founder of a company called Widevine Technologies. We sold that to Google 2010, and looking forward to sharing on this panel. Thanks.
All right. And Remo.
Remo Gettini, Head of Technology and Digital Transformation for Nova. Nova is a spin-off of DreamWorks Animation that works in the space of business to business by providing a SaaS platform that enables industries to photorealistically visualize consumer goods in 3D, representing both the physical as well as the visual behavior, and hence working with digital twins all the way through until the very last minute when a physical object is produced and shipped, maybe through Amazon or God knows where else. The relevance is twofold, I hope, to you, my experience. One, the first one is what we are doing in, obviously, photorealism and 3D and how you can leverage these. And the second one is I work in digital transformation, so I do walk into organizations that completely embrace the challenge of digital and what digital means to them throughout the value chain.
All right, so I think you'll see by the panel we've got a great combination of folks from the creation side, from the distribution side, and the technology side to talk about OTT. So I'm really excited to get into this. First, I want to know a little bit about the folks in the audience here. So how many are cord cutters here? How many folks don't have anything other than a OTT application? You want to be. That's a good thing. Okay, that's cool. And I'll tell you why. When you see some of these questions, it's going to lead into our discussions today. So you guys that are cord cutters, how many of you just on one app? Or do you have multiple apps that you watch the movies on? Multiple? Everyone's got multiple apps? Does anyone have one app they just watch it exclusively on? Okay. Really? Okay, that's cool. That's cool. That was that question. So I'm going to run through some quick market trends to show you, not only in Hollywood, but our clients, as Jeffrey clients, they're worldwide. So what we do is we take a trend of what's the pulse of the Fortune 500 companies. What are they doing, and where's Hollywood in that? Are they following? Are they leading it, and everything else? I think what it's going to do is going to give you a trend of what the opportunities are, where we're going in Hollywood and with OTT. So when we talk to our clients or CEOs, 50% of them want to be digital by 2020. That's their entire workflow. So 40% of our clients right now, they're in this hybrid community. So they've got servers and they're moving to the cloud. We find that with most of Hollywood also. And most of these folks, since there's not the staffing in-house, they're going to folks for consulting, like IBM or Hewlett Packard or other folks like that, for a number of reasons. But with the speed that people are driving and the needs internal, that's just the fact of the matter. So we look at what the CEO or the CXOs and the studios and the networks are looking for. Right now, we have an existing environment that's very complex. Their goal is to really focus on the outcomes. The outcomes of a studio is to make great movies. It's not to manage all this stuff. So we see the trend of moving to these new these solutions where really are as a service. Processes as a service, software as a service, and things like that. So that's the trend that we're seeing that Hollywood is moving into. If we look at their history, we came from mainframes, we went to client servers, then the internet was a big thing. Now we see the spaces in mobile, social, big data, and cloud, as we're going to talk about in a little bit. But this is the really interesting thing. So every 60 seconds, there's almost 100,000 tweets. Most of those may be coming from one person in Washington, D.C. that we know, but I'm not going to mention who. Almost in a minute, almost 1 million Google searches, 168 million emails sent, and 217 mobile web users. So when they started creating movies like 100 years ago, none of this existed. So you're going to see some other facts that are really changing Hollywood geometrically. This one was really an eye-opener. When you look at YouTube, they say they reach more 18 to 49-year-olds than a network or broadcast or cable. True game changer. This is a huge game changer. $7 billion. That's what Netflix is going to spend on content in 2018. Now that's interesting, but when you add it up, with Amazon Prime at $4.5 billion and Hulu at $2.5 billion, and you compare it to the networks that have been spending about $4 billion a year, this is another huge game changer. Awesome for Hollywood production, I gotta say. All the unions love it. Everyone's busy, so that's fantastic. But it also allows creators to come up through different things, as the YouTube channel is doing. They're fostering new content. Okay, the other huge game changer, as Reza brought up. Facebook's going to spend another $1 billion. So again, all these people buying content is really changing the way Hollywood does business and the way people consume media. That's why I was asking about cord cutters. So this is the other interesting step on it. When you take a look at, marketing, it comes down to advertising. Broadcast TV, when I worked for ABC in Houston, 70% of our revenue was profit, and that came from advertising. That world has dramatically changed. So again, social video is going to spend $4 billion in next year, and that's going to account for a third of the U.S. digital ad spend. So that's mobile. Again, this is all brand new. Mobile video ad spending, $18 billion by 2018, another service says. So mobility in the OTT space is hugely important. So again, some quick facts about this. Again, if you're not addressing mobility in this space, someone else is, one of your competitors. So some just quick facts. Number one investment opportunity or spend, and not just in Hollywood, but out of all the Fortune 500, that's where companies are spending their monies. And again, everyone in the Fortune 500 they have a mobile strategy. So again, if you're in the Hollywood space, you have to think of this, define the strategy, and address who your customers are. So again, you're not broadcasting out. If you're in the mobile spectrum, you just have to really understand who's consuming this. So again, to give you some relevance in this, 2010, look at the world population. Devices consumed about 12.5 billion connected devices. We project that to 2020. We see the growth happening a little bit in the population, but look at this. These are your connected devices. We're going to touch on analytics and how this is important for that. So 1 trillion applications, 58 zettabytes of data. That's an enormous disruptive change. So about big data, we're talking about connected devices. So this is how it's really going to change Hollywood. Again, when you look at how movies have been created, and when I was a research director at ABC, we lived and died by Nielsen, and used to be Arbitron in those days. And that was the fact. That's how ad agencies bought ads. And when you're in the movie business, you're looking at the ticket sales on the weekends. So we have the ability to learn more with the data that we have. So again, analytics solutions, data discovery, and hybrid management of the data is extremely important. So we've got data now, but now is our opportunity to use this to determine our investments. So again, if Netflix is spending $7 billion, they have to know that's the right way to spend it. Likely they've got an enormous amount of data from their OTT app that they can determine that. So their risk is low when they do spend that money. The other basis is Internet of Everything equals data. So again, we have the ability to pull all this information to predict what our viewers would like if we pull all this information in and if they opt in on everything. So that leads us to the next question, security. Everyone wants, you want to be connected to all these devices, but then also you're concerned about your security. So this is the frightening thing that a lot of Hollywood doesn't grasp. The black market is about $104 billion a year. You can see this by hospitals getting hijacked and getting paid off to release their screens again. Sony got hacked years ago, and most recently on PlayStation. This is a huge area. And the interesting thing is the average spend on security, the fine is actually 275% or 207% of what the average security spend is. So it really makes sense to spend money on security. The other challenge is over half the folks coming to work have devices like this that are their own. And they're infiltrating the infrastructure of the company, which is a threat unless it's handled correctly. So again, not only for Fortune 500 companies, but everyone through that production process. It's just the fact that it's a security threat. So this is the frightening thing. So typically, a hack has been in a system for 243 days before someone finds out about it. So 84% of these come from application layers. Again, it could be an OTT app, it could be an application that you use to do a production of a movie or just your regular work. So the time to grow and to find these has been 71% since 2010. But this is the interesting thing. 94% of these hacks have been found by someone outside the industry. Either it's a vendor you're dealing with that said, hey, I got this weird email, you should look at your system, as opposed to inside. So that's really the frightening thing. The other big trend we see is cloud, as you may know. It's a big talk about it. We look at traditional Hollywood. It was really, a really cost-driven infrastructure where, studios had to buy servers and do all this stuff. Well, the new Hollywood has changed. You know, you've seen some of these technologies come out where it's really app driven. It's agile, so you don't have to buy all this infrastructure. You can do it as a project, which is really, you know, it goes along with the making a movie process, because after you do a movie or show, you're wrapped. Why should you have all this equipment? And just going through here, because of the difference on this is we've seen reduced operational expenses by 38%. Footprints in data centers have dropped 50%. But the big thing is when you're releasing an OTT app or something else, the time to develop a software as a service has dropped significantly. Before it was like 3 weeks or to deploy, but now it's 90 minutes. So these are the big dramatic things that we see. So we're going to open it up for the panel discussions. Some of the folks have sent me some questions and just some general topics. We'll go and we'll ask a question and we'll ask the panel what they think. So, pros and cons of ad-based VOD models versus building of a subscription. Evan, any thoughts?
So all of ours are subscription-based. I think it really comes to scale when you're looking at these types of things. The same reason why we work with people and give them a subscription model along the lines of this question is the same reason they wouldn't just go to YouTube. If you are a creator or someone and you can go to YouTube, you get basically $2 for every 1,000 views, which really isn't much. So when you are thinking about, you know, can you get millions and millions of millions over and over again, then, you know, that $2 can aggregate up, or if you know, can sell your own ads. You really do need a massive scale. But when you're sort of working with thousands of people on sort of the niche end or on the lower end, if you can get them to be paying subscribers, you can be making millions of dollars very quickly. Whereas if you're just trying to do advertising with a small audience, your advertisers will likely be unhappy, or you'll just be, you know, sort of getting this programmatic advertising that's maybe not the best quality. Is that me? Maybe not the best quality or whatever, but it really comes down to the audience you have and the size of it, I think.
May I just add to that, because
Sure.
Evan mentions a very good point. I think that when you look at the marketplace and look at, you know, just look at what some of the big companies are starting to do. Hulu has moved to a subscription model. Amazon, of course, has always been a subscription model. Netflix is a subscription model. But look at YouTube with YouTube Red. You know, YouTube, the most democratized free service that where you can put anything up and have, not anything, but mostly anything up, and have that viewed. If you can find the audience, is even moving to some level of subscription services and really trying to move that audience. Why might they do that? It's just really, it's revenue per subscriber, and it's a big deal. If you can get people in your ecosystem and hold them as long as you can, you have opportunities to serve them additional content. You have opportunities to optimize either their revenue or that particular niche marketplace that consumer or the demo of that consumer represents. And that is super critical. We see it even with Facebook ads, right? That has been a lot of topic. I mean, this is a first election really where you've seen, well, it's not the first, but it's the first one with critical mass, where you have the ability to super hyper target a particular segment, whether it's a segment of someone who owns has a home and owns a pool, or whether that's somebody who has a political belief. And that's powerful because every marketer loves being able to hyper target a particular audience efficiently. And if you look at the media and entertainment business, you look at anybody who's grown up in movies, you know, if you talk about anybody in marketing, they talk about just spend on every quadrant. Spend to get every piece of the pie, because we don't really know on a particular show, a particular movie, what will work. So if you're able to look at analytics and look at particular demos that are targeting or over-indexing and spend less money to get the same bang for your buck, that is very attractive. And I think we're seeing that explored thanks to digital media and the, you know, and the move to IP-based identifiers.
Cool. And what at Fandango, what do you think about that?
Well, I think the way we like to look at things is our audience. You know, what is the audience looking for? And you know, as you guys are touching on, when you look at something hyper targeted like Facebook with content, I think the real value is you have this sort of fatigue of option, right, as it relates to not just main studio content, but all the content that's being created. And if the discovery becomes that more seamless and easy, then the value, rises for everybody. And so I think it's modular, It really depends on audience, scale, what type of content you're producing, but you want to be able to capitalize on all the different models. With us, we have, a VOD service. That doesn't mean that, who knows what the future holds, right, as it relates to SVOD. But,
and I mean, Disney's announced that they're going to have a subscription and advertising-based hybrid in their upcoming services that they're going to come out with. Their idea is they'll make the subscription amount very low, and hopefully that will make people okay with having ads on it. But I think it's definitely a hypothesis to be tested, because it seems that people have sort of the consumer behavior out there is, okay, I'll trade money for not having to see ads. So when people are having to pay money, they for the most part don't want to see ads on those services. So we'll see how it works out for Disney.
So just a question. So what do you think that magic price point is per subscriber? I know Netflix, as you guys know, they're raising their rates. I mean, where's the point where you piss people off and they say, it's not worth it, I'm going to go somewhere else?
Yeah, so I think with that, it really is that you can never raise the price, but you can always give a price promotion. So we price our channels at $10 a month or $100 for the year. But if there are certainly channels we thought about that could be much higher for sort of a more luxury clientele. Just with the idea that you can always say 50% off, you can always say $1 a month, but you can raise the price. You've seen Netflix raise it $1 here and there, but they lose X amount of subscribers when they do that, and hope that the lifetime value of the customers that stay will cancel those out, or that those customers will eventually come back when they say, okay, for an extra $1, I canceled because of principle, but I do want to watch that show, so I'll be back. But it's much harder to raise the price than it is to, give a promotion for the price-conscious people.
Interesting.
I think pricing is tricky, and the only thing I would add to that is that to your initial question, which was how many people have multiple services, how many are cord cutters. As we approach the cord cutter population and we get into the meat of consumers, and I'm talking about not young people that are going to college that never end up being a Comcast customer that go straight to Netflix or Spotify or some other music or video service, but as we start getting into, okay, my mom, and she moves off of Comcast and into Sling TV or some other OTT app, right? It becomes a fascinating exercise in, if I know I was going to pay a certain amount on cable and I can have 2 or 3 apps and an internet connection, does that cost me $20, $30, $40, $50? So I think we're approaching, I mean, I know that from an analytics point of view, the way that I would be looking at it is, what is the average bundle that a cable subscriber is paying right now? And what is the average number of services, app-wise, that people will subscribe to? Because that gentleman said 4, and I know the average person is probably between 2 and 4. And what does that cost, and how to mitigate that cost? And so I have gone back to what Evan said, which is it's about $9.99, $10 a month, but that's going to be shifting based upon what the big MVPDs do in the marketplace.
And remember that if you cancel cable, you still have to pay for internet. It's often more expensive to get internet-only packages than to have the bundle with cable. So you do need to put that in your calculation when you're looking at how much to these bundles, and then still have to pay for internet.
So to answer that from a technological point of view, I think you alluded to it, Jeffrey, that IP television gives the opportunity to serve an individual ad per stream, because each stream is a unique session. And so rather than at the commercial break, everyone being served the same ad, an interstitial ad, there's an opportunity for technology to transform that ad load that the entertainment's been burdened with. So individualizing and targeting the advertising a lot better. Let's say it hopefully increases the CPMs, and so the earning revenue from the ad would then, I hope, reduce the ad volume that the entertainment is burdened with. And then let's hope that the technology can get us beyond the boring old interstitial ad, which interrupts the commercial, and maybe bring on the era of product placement that's kind of subliminal and seamlessly embedded into the entertainment.
That you can relate to.
That you can relate
Right.
to, right.
Interesting. Remo?
Just to continue on the trend of the technology and what it is key that if you produce content today, either you own or you have a significant share of control upon, and it is basically any channel or elements in your distribution that allows you to touch the client, communicate with the client directly. So I've seen before in the music industry, I've been working in the gaming industry, so this trend of what you said before, when I was a EA, marketeers would bet on all quadrants because they had no idea who was going to buy FIFA or Need for Speed. They only knew the volumes. They didn't know who was the customer. So with the arrival of digital and the disruption of the industry, one of the critical points was for EA to also own the technology that would allow them to get to the consumers and to do all the fantastic things that my colleagues have been talking about, which is monitoring usage, dishing out the right ad on the right IP address, applying analytics. Because the moment that you move into a platform which is shared and common, and this is classical again of another market I've been working with, which is the airline industry, early 80s, platform common, let's all get on top of this. Obviously, the platform tends to think about their own interests and working to the lowest common denominator in terms of what's available to you in order to maximize the value of your IP. So if you own IP, if you're struggling what digital means to you, if you're thinking about how to reach an audience which is more fragmented and niche by the day, mobile becomes more critical. Analytics is absolutely a must-have, but you also have to ponder from a technology, and in brackets I would say distribution, specifically the way you reach the consumer, what it is your control, what it is your influence, what it is your visibility. Either because you own the platform, great place to be, but if you don't own the distribution platform, you have to have a relationship that goes beyond a contractual agreement that says whatever it says at the moment that your IP is consumed through those channels. That is absolutely critical.
I think that's one of the keys. I mean, as a content producer, if you make a piece of content and you're a studio and you distribute it through, say, Comcast, you get nothing back as far as analytics, where like folks like Netflix, if they own the, they create the content and they own the devices or the OTT, they get tons of analytics back. So again, that's $7 billion. Those are very smart bets for them, where other folks, they're throwing the dice. They don't know what's going to work from a movie. They know similar genres, they know similar actors, but it's really almost throwing the dice compared to using deep analytics of what every individual is going to intend. It's almost like Big Brother, but a friendly Big Brother, I guess.
Can I just add a company like Amazon, because that
of course,
there's a reason why they're what are they, #2 valued company in the world now, but think about what we're talking about, the importance as content creators in this ecosystem of moving to analytics from actually used to being broadcast where you just sent out a signal and whoever picked it up and you needed third-party measurements. Right now, if someone's streaming off of their device, you know exactly what they're streaming, when they're streaming it, how many times they're watching a commercial or not. Second to that, now you add what I said about Amazon. So Amazon has Amazon Prime, where 8% of the marketplace of streaming is Amazon. So they have a super large sample size. Now they say they know exactly what an IP address is streaming, what they're looking at, content genres, and micro-genres, sub-genres, a whole thing. Now add the fact that Amazon, because they have on the other side of the house, gets purchase data. So now they know exactly what this consumer is without paying anybody externally. And so think about the power of that as a marketing platform. Boy, you know so much about the richness of a particular person. And I mean each person on this panel, each of you. You know what our families, this person a multi-kid family, a no-kid family, married, not married, and much deeper than that, thousands of attributes. And then you add purchase data to that, all of a sudden now you start having some power. Now that's Amazon. Other companies have some version of that, and they buy other data to triangulate that data, right? And even when you're if you're a YouTube content creator, you create it and you look at Google Analytics, right, for your data. But the fact is, data is becoming super critical because gone are the days, except for the major motion picture groups, where you see the big Star Wars franchise that you just market everywhere. You're going to start seeing the continued emergence of young niche artists who make a lot of impact and make a lot of money, and the person next to me or to the left or right of me has no idea what they are, but they're a star. And you're going to see that because of our ability to micro-target. And you'll see the same thing with certain types of brands that can grow very efficiently by really hyper-targeting a certain sex. So I know I'm killing this point, but I think it's people don't realize in some cases just the power of how much we have moved in a very rapid place and how to monetize and optimize that. And it's not just the big studios that can do it. It's all the way down to the local person that's a content creator on the ground doing a television show that's in their garage that's going on that's going on YouTube, and they're looking to put it on Vimeo and then have a strategy for Roku. And it's just pretty awesome where we are, but we have a long way to go.
I got to say, not only as a marketer, but as a creator. For fun, I write feature film scripts. So if I know what Netflix is buying, because they have 72 genres and I can see their trends, and I'll say, oh, rom-com, okay, and this is what they like, this type of thing. I'm going to write it for that so I can get it sold. So again, as creators, we can use this information to say, okay, I know what the audience wants. And I know for most writers, they absolutely hate being told, oh, you need to write it like this because it's too commercial. But it's the reality of the situation. You see the billions that are being spent. These companies want to buy the content, but under their own auspice for their specific audience that they know. So if you can write and create a show like that, you're going to have great success. Again, using all the tools that's available. So it's exciting times. So going to that point, I just want to ask for Remo, an average movie crew and audience produce up to 50 terabytes of data each day. How can the cloud transform the way a studio manages the vast amount of data and provide innovative ways for real-time collaboration with a distributed crew? And again, we've been making movies for 100-something years. Now we've got this great tool set. What have you seen at DreamWorks and how you can do this? Because you guys have been distributed throughout the world making movies. So.
Yes, and this is basically turning the argument that we've had up until now the other way around, which is looking inwards within the operations of the organizations and pondering on what can you do and how you can exploit technology in order to more efficiently produce IP and then distribute it through the platform. So what we've seen at DreamWorks, just to give you an idea, I'll throw some numbers. We had a model where a set to create a movie was composed of anything between 150 and 200 people at any point in time, between artists, designers, story writers, animators, developers, and so forth. And all these individuals never met in the same location. So they used to be distributed across the globe. So we had, for the same IP, concurrent, simultaneous access and work on the assets that formed the final product across the 3 continents. So North America, Europe, and Asia and India. Every day on the platform that we built, and it was cloud-based, we used to see the same level of transactions that Salesforce.com runs worldwide on their cloud basis. So we looked at our analytics, and the numbers that we pulled out was that we were running in excess of 500 million of transactions a day on this platform worldwide. So there were 500 million of transactions of artists, creators, animators, all working simultaneously on top of each other in order to drive the creation of a frame and a number of frames that resulted into a movie. And every asset, every scene would contain millions of individual assets. So if you ponder for a second on these and you reflect on the challenges that you have in the film industry, imagine just for a second the ability of filming a scene, having all the content immediately uploaded on the cloud and available to the photographers, to anyone else that has to do cutting, editing, reviewing, and the director being able to say, that is what I want to do within a matter of minutes or hours, rather than having to go back through the old pipeline workflow. There is absolutely a revolution of the workflows and a revolution of the pipeline. They're introducing technology into an environment that has a significant element of creativity and a large number of people that have to work simultaneously around these assets the technology will bring. So not only you have to think about distribution channels and analytics to sweat your IP and target the individuals, but you have significant advantages that you can rip off from within your own organizations from an operating point of view, which means that all these savings then can be brought back in-house, and the time that you gain, the money that you save, then it can be redistributed, because then all of a sudden you are no longer restricted to X number of IP in a given point in time, but you go 2X or 3X, because the productivity of the individuals and the time that they get back can be diverted and focused on additional creative aspects. So ponder on this. I'll leave you with one last figure. As a Nova, we took the learnings and the technology of DreamWorks, we made a leap of innovation, and we created a similar story but for consumer goods industries. So we said to them, you are no different from DreamWorks. You invent a product that can be digitized, and you work as DreamWorks works, because you have designers, you have merchandisers, you have marketeers, you have product. We provided them with a solution that is very similar to the way that DreamWorks works in terms of digital workflows. And I can say, because it's public, for a company like Nike that embarked on a digital transformation with us, they started to see halving the time that it takes to them to take a new product to market. So if you reflect for a second what it means, what it could mean for a multi-billion company to halve the time that it takes to take a product to market, you have a sense of the opportunity that you have in front of you to optimize your processes and create more, better, and even bigger IP.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah, I think things are going to shift across this ecosystem, right? And artificial intelligence, cognitive, machine learning are all going to be a part of what he's talking about. At IBM, we've invested a lot of research and investment into artificial intelligence and cognitive in particular. Cognitive is when a computer can read, reason, and learn. So think about that: read, reason, learn, and understand. So that at what point could a technology like Watson read every script that is public and tell you every aspect about that script and pull that out for the directors or for writers? And that's just one little use case. It's about, in compressed time windows when a television show launches now, and remember a TV show has 22, 23 episodes. I remember at Disney my last year there, we did like 15 movies, but we actually produced 1,000 television shows in that same window. So episodics is are really going to be transformed leveraging some of these new tools. Think about when you have properties, and I'm not going to overuse Star Wars, but it's only because I saw the ad on Monday Night Football. But Star Wars, but all of us know Star Wars, we all have some perspective of Star Wars, right? But think about the fact that now that you have, 7, 8, 9, 10 movies, and you have some ancillary, movies that are coming out, you have a franchise plan. Well, think about a new director comes in and says, I want to know every time a particular actor has appeared in any scene in the last 20 years. Well, that is a number of interns and paid people going back and going through physical reams of data, to your point about terabytes, and going through that manually in many cases, or using really limited tools. Now you can have assets pulled out for you, right? So that 70% of the work it doesn't have to be done by you. So we're just, I know that our job is to intrigue you a little bit, but the use cases are quite phenomenal, and it's a matter of exploring our way into disrupting how we've done business. But it's on the royalty side, it's on the content creation side, it's on the cloud back-end editing production side. It's all the way through the ecosystem, the fun parts that you see and the parts that you will never see, but are the guts of our business.
Can I pick up one thing that you just said about episodics? I mean, if you look at two industries that have been involved, the gaming and the publishing, digital allowed them to become phenomenally proficient and profitable in a world of episodic. So gaming, microtransactions, levels, it's all episodic. Before digital, you would buy a game, you would stick a CD in your Xbox, and you would have to play the whole game. There was no concept of additional content being downloaded, different stories, new rosters. So it became episodic. And the fact that it was episodic, it was because digital arrived at the core of how they produce the product and distribute it. The same in the publishing. I mean, the industry, the press hasn't died. People still read newspapers, but they read it in an episodic way. You access what you are interested into it. You subscribe to the channel that you want. You read the specific news for I used to read The Guardian in the UK. Today I read a specific article of The Guardian. So I still read the newspaper, but I'm very much episodical. And the reason The Guardian can reach me is because it has wired himself on top of a fabric that allows him to produce an IP that is digitized, and it can be consumed in that way, over and above knowing what I do like and I don't like. So I just wanted to add a little bit. And the last, Jeffrey, I had the honor and the pleasure to work with Jeffrey and
Jeffrey Katzenberg.
Jeffrey Katzenberg,
right.
Yes, sorry.
Just like my memory's going.
When you name Jeffrey, you assume everyone knows who you're talking about. And Jeffrey's just started a new venture. If you look at the two attributes, it's all about episodic and it's all about mobile. Reached out, very, very targeted.
Yeah, I was actually going to bring that up as well because I thought Jeffrey started started going in the direction. He said, we made 15 movies, but we made hundreds of TV episodes in the same time period. And what Jeffrey Katzenberg's Wonder Co., whatever the new TV is going to be, the idea of that is it could be thousands and thousands of episodes in the same time frame as hundreds of TV episodes, potentially monetized in the same or a better way.
Reza?
So I'd like to focus on the term cloud there, and perhaps be a bit of a naysayer and talk about the post-cloud era, or at least the post-cloud party hangover that many companies are enduring at the moment, where they overindulged on this notion of moving their workflow and all of their assets to the cloud, and are now woken up in the morning after the party and with the bill to pay. So
you use both.
Yes.
You're a hybrid client, so you understand
absolutely. That. And over the last decade, I've helped many companies move their workflows up to the cloud. And so I think you're talking to kind of somewhat of a jaded foot soldier in this space, where we've come to understand what should go up to the cloud and what should really stay locally, or maybe what should come back in-house after it's had its period of value in the cloud. So the sort of things that I would keep in the cloud are indexes, the way to search to make your content more searchable, but putting petabytes or zettabytes up into the cloud, that's a gift that keeps giving, or a bill that you have to keep paying.
Jeff Bezos thanks you very much.
Exactly. Every month you have to pay that. In Silicon Valley, you remember he said that damn Amazon bill. Yes, that AWS bill. It comes in every month, and you've got content there which has got minimal long tail value. And you're still having to pay for it the same rate that you're paying for your blockbuster content that's being served up. So I'd urge anyone that's anticipating moving up to the cloud or is in the cloud already to really look at the economics and consider a hybrid solution of tuning what goes up to the cloud based on its value. And you've got to start learning. You should be hungry for understanding the value of your content. I'd say workflows should go up to the cloud because that's where the big benefit of being able to work collaboratively on a project and have a distributed team working on an edit, that's great. But once the product's done, it's in the can, you should really think about bringing the fat, bulky assets back in-house and maybe leave the proxies and the indexes up in the cloud. So you can still find it, you can still search for it, but you're not being burdened by the bill for keeping it, for renting the disk space in Jeff Bezos's garage.
He is one of the richest guys in the world, so there's a reason for that. So, any notes from Fandango about data usage and all that in the cloud?
I think there's a couple points that really resonate with our business. If you think about any movie that comes out on any given weekend, you mentioned that you saw the trailer for Star Wars. I hope you bought tickets after you saw that. We have pre-sale tickets that are available. But any big blockbuster, you're going to reach a large majority of moviegoers on any given opening weekend. So when we talk about Fandango Now, which is our video on demand, you're opening up to 50,000 titles now. So how do you kind of apply that layer of understanding the customer, understanding what genres, what their interests are as it relates to content engagement, and really starting to get super focused on how we can tell the story from like the life cycle of a movie. You just bought a ticket for Blade Runner. We want you to catch up on the old Blade Runner. We now have the opportunity to do that in ways that other businesses don't. We really kind of scale across all of the life cycle. And then the follow-through too, which I think is even gets more interesting when you think about data, which is, what'd you think? We got Rotten Tomatoes. Tell us what you thought. Here's what the critics are saying. Do you agree with them? If you don't, tell us why. What were the elements within that movie that you enjoyed? We could break it down by cast. We could break it down by sound. I just saw Blade Runner over the weekend. I don't know if anybody else did. Didn't do anything in the box office, but it was an awesome movie. My mother-in-law came up to me and she said, you know what, you have to see this movie because the score and the sound design blew my mind. And I was like, that's such a weird thing to say to your son-in-law, first of all. And I was like, but then when I watched it, I was like, holy shit, that was pretty phenomenal. And I was hyper-focused on it. But that, giving people the tools to actually have their opinion and really, what do you do naturally when you walk out of a movie? You want to tell people about it, right? And it's very nuanced. It's not just if you liked it or not. Of course, that has to do with it. But there's so many layers of what you liked about the film. So all that collection and really starting to get in and tap into that consumers likes, what they don't like is actually as important, if not more. It's super valuable.
Interesting, thanks. So here's a question. So are the video platforms becoming more flexible now or less flexible? Do you guys see a change on that?
How do you define flexible?
I think flexible, from a consumer side, the viewer side.
Can I dive into that?
Now you're a platform guy, so you get this.
I'm a technology guy. And speaking from the point of view of RealNetworks, the company that invented streaming media. It authored the first streaming media protocol. It's not necessarily the company that was the long-lasting beneficiary of that technology. I guess we're a 20-year-old company that's in some ways can be seen as like serial philanthropists to the industry. In those days, we wanted to give users tangible control over the media. Even before RealNetworks, I was at the editing company Lightworks, where we pioneered nonlinear editing, and it was my job was to give the editor the feel that they had tangible control of the media, like you did when you were operating a Steenbeck or a Moviola, or even a reel-to-reel tape deck where you could move the medium across the playhead and hear the audio wow and flutter, and you'd see every frame. The technology has moved on to the current streaming technology where the server side is utterly dumb. It's dumb storage that just holds multiple bit rates of the movie, and the client side has all of the streaming, the buffering logic. And what has happened is we've thrown away all of that tangible control over the data and given the user very restricted ways of consuming the data. You can consume the movie at play speed, at regular, at 1 times play speed, and once you've started playing, don't think of grabbing the playhead and expecting to drag that along without incurring a 30-second, maybe a 60, 90-second rebuffering time, whilst the whole platform tries to get the blocks of data, the packets into your buffer. So I think we've from a consumer's point of view, the consumer's actually getting less functionality, and maybe the pendulum swung too far in one direction, and maybe there's some happy medium somewhere in the middle. Remember the days when even your consumer VCR remote control used to have a jog shuttle controller on that? Yeah, no way you're going to get that on a modern remote control now. So, yeah, that's my perspective from someone that's seen this the technology for the last 20 odd years.
To answer it a different way, though, I think that you can now have live stream next to a uploaded video, next to a GIF, next to we are, although you might, like he's talking more about the technical side of each video, the platforms do now have different options of the kinds of content that you can get all in one place.
Yeah, someone said it yesterday about this whole experiment about digital video. We're still in the early innings since it's baseball playoff time. I actually think we're in an interesting place for a different reason, because I think right now you're seeing just about everything from UGC, where you can just play it anytime, anywhere. You can put the like you said, the head anywhere. And right next to it, you're watching ESPN. And ESPN, and if you're looking, you have the digital experience on, make it up a Sling TV. You can't fast forward, you can't rewind. It's a linear experience. It's on digital. And so side by side, you're seeing a whole lot of content available now, but there aren't many standards even within platforms, right? And so, if I'm on the Pac-12 network, since I'm on the West Coast, it could be side by side with ESPN, and I can fast forward, I can back up, I can hyper speed up to watch a game. I can go backwards to three shows and watch a show that was on earlier in the day, volleyball or something. Yet sitting right next to it is ESPN, and I can't fast forward, can't do anything except watch it in a linear experience. And all of this is in a digital OTT platform. So and that one's within Sling TV. So I think that we're all over the map right now, and this is something that over time will get cleaned up. I will tell you, a telltale sign that I am looking for is what Disney does with this new streaming service that they offer, because how much flexibility they have to, will they allow fast forwarding, rewind, how fat is that layer that's being downloaded, how is it an elegant user interface, or is it a really unique dynamic one? I think we're going to see a lot more experimentation, but I think a lot of people are waiting to see what that one looks like and how it's deployed and what limitations are around it.
I'm just speaking out purely from a consumer point of view, so not an expert on the other side of the fence. I would say that what I find the most still disconcerting is probably one of the most important from a business point of view, which is the acquisition, because the experience today of satisfying my need for entertainment through IP that matches the device I'm looking through at the time I want to see, it's still very basic. So the company's abilities to acquire customers beyond the sign a contract and you have 500, what does it mean having 500 channels available? It means nothing. Zero, completely. It's just a known, it's irrelevant to an end user. Who's gonna sift through 500 channels and put them in the order of interest? No one. So the acquisition is still, I think, very in its infancy compared with other industries, how they acquire. And the consumption from a search and find, so matching my wish and hunger for entertainment and the ability to say in 30 seconds, here is the film, here is what I want to watch, is still quite far. I mean, you go through, you know, the search is very, very difficult on our side. So there is a lot of work that can be done on both sides, which is having which falls under the umbrella of, you know, customer acquisitions that reflects on me as the ability to find content at the right time, on the right device.
So we need a Google of video.
I would go so far, but the experience is, I'm always fascinated when someone calls me up and he says, I'm going to offer you, how many channels have you got? 500. I'm going to give you 600. And I just pondered. I said, I've never watched more than 3.
Well,
I mean,
let's 5 minutes. Let's look at you know, the industry, as you said, it's kind of immature in that space. More mature industries like the telco industry. When I make a phone call to somebody else on a different carrier network, there's routing between them. When I send an SMS message, it gets routed between carriers. If I'm on Netflix and I want to watch a movie that's actually only on Hulu, there isn't that routing mechanism within the industry that, okay, you're going to be charged maybe a roaming fee, or there's going to be some back-end operator-to-operator reconciliation. That's yet to come. So a cross-platform search capability with back-end reconciliation that allows me to watch anything that's being served up by any OTT through one through any of their portals, I think is a vision, or is something that's yet to be built. And Steve, maybe after this we can talk about.
It sounds like an opportunity.
Okay.
I have to copyright that quickly.
Yes, quickly.
Okay, I want to open it up for questions. Does anyone in the audience have questions for our illustrious panel here? Yes, ma'am.
So the discussion on data and intelligence, ad targeting, you know, the addressable advertising has been tried for a very, very long time in cable, and it's still a ways away. So digital obviously is an advantage when it comes to knowing the consumer. At the same time, consumers are pushing back on advertising at all levels, from television to using ad blockers. I think Mary Meeker's presentation, I think it's up around 600 million, something like that in use. So the concept of product placement and Amazon having that data intelligence on the product side, in addition to the fact that they're investing in more content, even Facebook with all of their data, and they're investing in content. What is the potential for more episodic, sponsored, or branded content as opposed to television advertising or digital advertising or even banner ads in this age of knowing exactly what people want to engage with and crafting it in a way, almost the way that podcasts are going, and Gimlet Media, for example?
My personal feeling is 3 words: through the roof. Great opportunity for branded entertainment, but it has to be organic to the brand. It's gone are the days, from a best practice of just, drinking a Coke on screen, right? Or whatever other product that might be, an automotive, launch of a product. But you'll see shows that are created around a lifestyle, and then just a story and a narrative that includes that brand or the optimization or the key elements of that brand that then gets monetized in a different way through direct mail, and when I say direct mail, direct email, or other types of digital channels. So I happen to think it's through the roof.
I'm going to do it in 2 words: soap opera. It basically, that's the dilemma that's been exactly. Entertainment was a vehicle to push products to consumers. And from the consumer's point of view, they think they're consuming entertainment. From the brand's point of view, no, this is a vehicle. It's a sugar coating on a bitter pill that they want you to swallow. And so that is the narrative, the hidden narrative maybe that's going through everything we do. And I don't know that digital's probably going to help sugarcoat that bitter pill a bit more and make it more palatable. And definitely, I'm working on technologies with the teams at RealNetworks to allow us. I mean, when we mentioned product placement, to improve analytics, to use machine learning and AI to actually understand deeply what's inside the video, and maybe even having a vision of a post-advertising world, a world where there's a disintermediation between brands and consumers, and avoiding that sort of trillion-dollar industry, advertising industry, which is like, you know, pushing on the end of a string. You're pouring money into it, but you're not really sure you're getting to your consumers. So it's way off, but you know, I love long shots.
Yeah, no, I know.
One more question from the audience? No one else? No questions? You got it all memorized. Awesome. Thanks very much for the panel, for coming out today. If everyone can give them a round of applause. Again, thanks so much, folks.